evening, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen around the world. It is time for Matt and Josh Make Lists, the number one podcast on the Semi-Core Studios network about making lists. I'm Josh, and sitting across from me, virtually of course, all the way from his neck of the woods, is Matt. What's up, man?
How's it going, Josh?
Oh, gosh, it's been a hectic, brutal day, as is every day. You know, when you're the CEO of a major podcasting network, or even this one. This has been a long time in the making, this show for you and me. It
has, yeah. A lot of Apex sessions.
For those that don't know, which could be a lot of you, we play Apex Legends. It's a video game. And we talk about all sorts of stuff. And at one point, I'm like, we should make a show about this. So we did. Here it is. And we're making lists.
Yep.
I hate to put you on the spot, but this is kind of tradition for me. So why don't you tell the good people what we're going to be talking about today?
Dang, just throw me out there. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we like the show title says, we make lists. We decide on random topics, and whatever those topics are, we develop lists of our favorite things. We've how many of these do you think we've done like over Apex?
Oh gosh, dozens.
So many. We'll just decide, and I don't know if you plan on doing this, but this session is focused on our favorite sitcoms. So yeah, I don't know. That's sufficient.
Well, there's going to be in you heard that I had a guest over for you long-time Semi-Core Studios listeners. Kevin stopped by. We watched our terrible movies and then had work to do. We got into a little bit of a discussion about some of the shows on my list and some of the honorable mentions, because I do have a few of those, about what is a sitcom, because apparently I came up with some questionable sitcoms that may or may not fit the bill. So why don't you help us figure out what exactly is a sitcom?
Yeah. So like you, I had some questionable items, so I kind of looked into it a little bit more to see like what exactly is a sitcom, and so pretty much, it's a situational comedy. That's where it comes from. Some key elements of it are having a consistent cast that are featured throughout the episodes they carry over, as well as having a somewhat overarching storyline that'll continue show to show, or episode to episode, I should say. So those are some fairly consistent themes. This kind of came up because a lot of the shows I tend to watch are like cartoons, and I was like, well, these meet those elements. Are these considered sitcoms? And sure enough, they were. So, interesting enough, I actually learned that sitcoms originated on radio. I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, like the Jello program starring Jack Benny, or the Pickersons, Burns and Allen, Fibbergy and Molly. What can I say? I'm a old school or old time radio nerd.
So I thought it was interesting. Well, here we are doing a podcast, essentially radio.
Yeah, about, it's come full circle.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, what are the chances of this? So I think it's a very fitting first episode.
Well, I am glad we are in agreement on that. So, you know what? People want to hear some lists, so how about we go ahead and start giving them some lists?
Let's do it.
We're going to start with our number 10s and work our way to our number 1s. Why? Because that's how lists work. You count down. You always count down. You got to save the best for last. I know there are people out there that are like, well, my number 1. No. That goes last.
It's only it only goes downhill from there if you start at number one.
Exactly. It's like, oh, this
Yeah.
guy's taste is getting worse. No, no. So 10-1. Um, should we flip a coin to see who starts, or do you want to start what?
Do you want to alternate? I mean, I'll go first, and then, or do you want to go like 10-10, 9-9? How do
We'll
you
do
want to do this?
10-10, 9-9, yada,
9-9.
yada, yada. And whoever starts us off this week, the next time, the other one will start it off. So that's a good way to do it. So who do you want to start the
Sounds good.
countdown?
I can go first.
All right. What is your number 10?
Number 10, single parents.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't know. We want, have you heard of that? Or
I mean, it keeps getting recommended to me, but I haven't checked it out. I believe it's the one where every time one of my shows ends on Hulu, it starts an episode where there's a dance party and a gerbil or something.
yeah. Yes. I remember that episode. But yeah, it's pretty funny.
I've seen that scene a lot.
It's a pretty short series. I think there's only like 3 seasons of it currently, and I think with COVID and everything, that kind of delayed the next one. I haven't really heard anything about it coming. To be honest, I haven't really looked much into it. I'll figure it'll come out when it comes out. But yeah, it's one of the shows that sneaks into my rotation every once in a while, and I go through it. But yeah, just like a group of single parents who met at this or met and help each other raise each other's kids.
Okay, it kind of sounds like it would have a little. I don't know. It sounds like something I can relate to, except I don't know any other single parents. Honestly, I'm not really familiar with many other parents because that usually involves interacting with people, and if it's not done in front of a microphone, who cares? Whether it's for a podcast or a video game, you talk to me through a microphone or you don't talk to me at all.
Just start a show where you walk up and interview parents.
I think I saw a movie about that today.
What parent doesn't want to talk about their kids?
What parent doesn't want to? What parent wants to stop talking about their kids? It's rather irritating at times. It's unlike talking about my kids, because my kids are actually pretty awesome. Going through a several-week course for U.S. history and pretty much nailing all of the curriculum in just under 3 weeks. And the 12-year-old's absolutely killing middle school. Not, sorry, NSA. I could have chosen my words more carefully. Crushing it in middle school. The middle child is, and can you believe the oldest is about to be in high school? Man,
that's wild. It's a wild time.
Parent of a I'm doing it, aren't I?
You're doing it. You're almost there.
Okay, so single parents for you is number 10. Anybody of note in that show? People that someone might have heard of?
Yes. So I to be honest, am not good with actors' names, but who was Raymond's brother and Everybody Loves Raymond?
Brad Garrett?
Yes, he is in it. I believe.
Everybody Loves Raymond. Okay, well, that is your number 10. I'm going to move on to my number 10. My number 10 is a show that I think I got you into, and I don't know really if you're happy that I did or not, but I'm just going to say yes, you are. My number 10 is Modern Family.
Whoa! You set the bar high. With number 10.
Coming out swinging.
That is impressive.
Well,
now I'm stoked to hear the rest of this list. That's number 10.
I will. You know a couple of them already, I imagine, based on our previous conversations. But I will say up front. Well, I guess it's not really up front since I already said the title. But I will say that one of the criterion for making my list was a show that has already completed its run.
Okay.
I didn't want to add shows still running because, well, they still have a chance to suck.
Yeah, I think that's fair. And I'll say that that's kind of what happened with my list as well. Single Parents being only 3 seasons, that's why it's at the bottom of the list. It's probably the least amount of seasons out of all of the ones on that I have. So yeah, and I think that plays to the rewatchability as well. You can't, if you're watching 3 seasons and you want to watch it again, it's still fresh in your head, or but you go through 11 seasons and then you kind of tend to forget what happened at the beginning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah.
My other you'll get an idea for what caused the list order based on how many times I've rewatched the season or rewatched the series. So as we get lower on the lists or higher in the rankings, however you want to call it, it's basically the number of times I've watched through the series. So the most I've watched through a series is definitely going to be number 1, and it's going to go down from there. I've only watched through Modern Family once.
That makes sense.
I definitely thought it deserved a place on the top 10, if only for the tremendous performances, for one. Sofia Vergara, Eric Stonestreet, Ty Burrell, Julia Bowen, the kids, Jesse Tyler Ferguson, Ed O'Neill. You know the crew.
Yeah.
And the fact that it was like a sitcom that wasn't Will and Grace, that included, LGBTQ plus characters in a interesting and funny way.
Yeah, absolutely.
As part of the main cast too, so not the gay best friend or whatever. So
right.
Modern Family did a lot to, I think, reflect society as a whole, and that's why it deserves to be on any sitcom list, in my opinion.
I agree with that. Yeah. Definitely like a very diverse cast.
Mm-hmm.
And not the cast, but just the way they set up the characters. And yeah.
Now, I know we talked a lot about the show, through our sessions in gaming, and we don't always agree with some of the decisions characters make, or some of the ways things play out in Modern Family. But I think that is one of the signs of a very good show: the fact that you actually care about what's going on.
Yeah. You're not just watching it; like you develop a relationship with this family.
Mm-hmm. And by the end of it, I was like, man, I would love to be in that world with these people because it would be fun. So what is your number 9?
All right. So kind of picking up on what you were saying with the, the number of times you've rewatched it. My number 9 is going to go to The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I think that's been a great series. I've only been able to go through it once. However, growing up in the 90s and even today, just watching reruns, late night episodes, Nick at Night, and just catching those episodes, it's never been something that anytime I've caught it being on, I'm usually watching it.
Mm-hmm.
And so yeah. It's awesome. One of the main reasons I still have HBO Max. So.
Yeah. It was one of HBO did a great service to me by making 2 announcements before launching. One, that they're going to have Doctor Who.
Mm-hmm.
That was going to be the place to stream Doctor Who, which, stand up, bravo, right?
Right.
2, I wasn't I can't say I was on the fence about getting HBO Max, but a part of me that made me, honestly, I fist pumped. Okay, when they said Fresh Prince of Bel Air every season on HBO Max, I'm like, yes, I will be watching more than one show.
Right? They need a good roster of shows, and that's definitely up there.
And I will wholeheartedly agree with everything you said about the Fresh Prince, especially um, how groundbreaking it was. There were a lot of ways that show could have gone. As far as its comedy stylings, it could have been very exploitive, and it could have been a caricature of all sorts of different communities. But no, they sort of played it straight and actually made the characters interesting by I would say they did what wrestling did, right? They have these characters that fit a type, but then they crank it up to 11 to exaggerate certain characteristics, and that is one of the reasons why it's so damn funny.
Yeah.
You think Carlton would be as memorable if he was just this, nerdy rich kid? But no, it's the whining, oh, Dad, the dancing to Tom Jones. It's all of these things. Hillary just spoiled. Anybody can be spoiled, but the way she did it with the voice, the inflection, just everything. And it seems like Will Smith was probably the least exaggerated character on the show. And as much as a lot of people want to think that he was the guy that did the comedy for the show, after all, it's named after him, right? No, I think the comedy comes from this guy being around these exaggerated characters and how he responds to it. But that's, just how I feel about
it. Do you think that they have to make that level of exaggeration to their characters to match like his? I mean, he's out there. That dude is goofy. Will Smith is so funny, and I feel like he didn't even have to play a character to play Will. Like, he was just being himself.
Yeah, I think naturally he is like tuned up, right?
Right.
But he's a guy that you would see on the street. He's a guy that you know. Everyone else is kind of like, I don't know, a little more cartoony.
I can see that. Yep.
So, I will go
to
my
number 9.
And you are, I don't know if you've seen this. I hope so. But my number 9 is Dinosaurs.
Dinosaurs. That sounds so familiar, but I don't
It's
recall.
a puppet show. It's a show about puppet dinosaurs.
What?
From the 90s. Remember how I don't remember what network it was, but somebody tried to take the cavemen from the commercials and make a TV show about it, and it was just terrible.
Oh my gosh.
Now imagine somebody did it right, where this working class dad named Earl is going to work every day, pushing over trees. That's his job. He's a tree pusher. He has a wife, Fran, a son, Robbie, daughter, Charlene, and baby is Baby.
I have seen this show. I know what you're talking about now.
It was a show that I, it's weird to say that Dinosaurs was groundbreaking, but it covered things in a way that a puppet show about dinosaurs had no business covering. The the episode arc about the two-leggers going to war with the four-leggers was deep, and quite frankly, it ends with Earl dooming all of dinosaur kind, um, basically directing causing the comet to head towards Earth.
Oh my god!
So the show ends with everybody waiting to die.
What the heck?
Yeah, family fun, right?
What is the show? That's so awkward.
It is. It is. They tackled issues like drugs and growing up and you know real stuff that you would find in regular TV shows, but it's just with dinosaurs. And that's why it made my number 9. It's just, I'll put it to you this way. During the last class that I had of English Lit at college, the professor was like, "Okay, no assignments today. We're gonna watch this, the last episode of Dinosaurs." Why? Because it was done brilliantly.
That's insane. I'm gonna have to check this out.
Yeah.
How many seasons did it have?
I want to say 2 or 3.
Okay. Nice.
So it's a quick watch, and I think definitely worth the time.
That's so hard. Like, how would you? That's such an interesting way to go about it. Like using dinosaurs. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
I love it when people subvert expectations, especially when it comes to their storytelling. And the fact that I watched the show as a kid, and I was like, "Yeah, this is a fun show." The baby's hitting the dad in the head with a frying pan, going, "Not the mama."
This was like it came out like early '90s, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Um,
So funny.
but then when you watch it older, you realize, oh, it was a lot deeper than that. Kind of like, you know what? Just in case it's on your list, I'm not going to say it, but I'll bring it up if it comes up.
Is it Saved by the Bell?
Yeah, kind of like Saved by the Bell. I'm so excited. I'm so excited. I'm so scared. I did like the reboot, the reboot of Saved by the Bell. I thought it was tongue in cheek. It definitely recognized itself when it came to how cheesy the original was. Jesse Spano becoming a guidance counselor, seeing somebody in the hallway with pills, knocking him out of their hand and going, "Are those caffeine pills? You don't want to get messed up with those. Trust me." And then the kid's like, yeah, caffeine pills. That's definitely what those were."
Oh my gosh, I have not had a chance to watch that yet.
Peacock Network, pay me money. I just plugged your thing.
Right?
So what is your number 8?
Number 8. So, along the same lines as the Fresh Prince, I have the George Lopez show.
Okay, I have not watched the George Lopez show. I'm sure I've seen an episode, here and there, but I'm not overall familiar with the show itself.
I don't think, I don't know of any streaming services that have it. I've only ever watched it just, watching late night television. And, it literally was like the only thing, I swear, it was the only thing on Nick at Night at one point. And yeah, I don't know how, but I think collectively through watching those episodes, I've seen every episode. Because anytime it comes on, I've seen this. Like it's a rerun. But yeah, definitely one of my favorites growing up. Um, and I think that outranks Fresh Prince just based on the rewatchability. Um, and how many times, like I said, I've seen it. I can go into the Fresh Prince and there are episodes I haven't seen. Um, but but yeah, I'm gonna go with George Lopez.
I just looked it up. You can also watch George Lopez on Peacock.
She did.
Hey, they
I'm gonna have
went
to get
out of their
Peacock.
way to make sure they also had, a library. And more than one show is going to make its way onto the list from the old Peacock network.
So I am not a fan of Peacock, to be honest. I'm sorry. Sorry to them. They've upset me and burned me, so I'm done with it. But might have to give them a shot. I they there was a point where they've had all the Harry Potter movies on there.
I think they do so again.
Exactly. So I had it because I wanted the Harry Potter movies. Obviously The Office, and then all of a sudden they were gone. Like no warning, just gone. So I was like, all right, well, if they're going to be inconsistent about it, I'll just go buy digital copies so I can watch it whenever I want. And then sure enough, I think recently they put them back up.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, well, thank you for letting me waste all this money, but oh well. I don't buy DVDs anymore now. So
I don't think I have a DVD player other than the
what?
PlayStation.
Yeah. Let's see. I don't. Does anyone have DVD players?
I don't know. My computer doesn't even have a disc drive.
Now that it's mine, I have to like attach it, but I never use it. I think I've maybe used it like one or two times. You got the
Remember,
PlayStation. What does it
remember
need?
back when first getting computers, late '90s, early aughts, and we're like, man, I'm gonna be able to burn so many CDs.
Yeah.
Now I'm like, I'm glad my car is Bluetooth because I'm not buying all those albums.
I think by the time I actually got a computer, we were. It was kind of like the digital, like we were downloading things. We weren't making CDs. We had like the Zune, the iPods. Um, so I never really had to burn one.
This is me silently scowling at your youngness. CDs were burning CDs were where it was at back in the day, and we legally bought all of our music, of course. I don't know what Napster is.
What's the other one? LimeWire or whatever.
Yeah. And I certainly didn't move on to the Pirate Bay.
I don't know what y'all are talking about.
Of
I was
course you don't,
strictly
because you're
Apple
young.
store, the iTunes store. That's where I get my music.
Yes, me too. That
Pay
and
the artist.
Amazon.
Give me free stuff, Apple.
Well, my number 8. It's funny you mentioned TV Land because that's where I watched this show a lot when I was younger, and that was the Dick Van Dyke Show. No, I don't need an explicit tag for that.
That show came up in my research.
The Dick Van Dyke Show was a classic comedy starring I don't remember who, but he was a charismatic male lead. Funny guy, played a character named Rob Petrie. Co-starring Mary Tyler Moore, who would go on to have a very successful sitcom of her own. I don't remember the name of it, though.
Are you serious?
No, I'm not serious.
It's like
But basically, it was about, and this was my first real behind-the-scenes look at the television industry, and kind of made me want to be a part of that. The show is about Rob Petrie, who has a family, wife, child that disappears from time to time with no explanation, as children in sitcoms tend to do. But his job was a TV writer for the Ellen Brady Show, and to see him go to work to a writer's room with a grand total of 3 writers for this show, it was definitely a learning experience, especially when they did the thing where they're trying to come up with bits for the show. And I don't know if this was actually a thing in the 50s, but anytime they had like a dinner party and people are entertaining, they're actually getting up in front of everybody and doing little performances, sketches, songs, dances. Like, is that really how people lived back then? Because if I host a dinner party, it's basically, hey, I'm gonna go turn on Spotify, and then everybody basically does what they want until it's time to eat.
Everyone just sits on their phones.
Yeah, that's exactly right. And I had no idea that before all of this awesome fun stuff, people put a lot of work into entertaining their guests, and now people just entertain themselves.
Yeah. It was a different time, man. It's so different.
I'm kind of
people
envious.
used to did people actually bring their bosses home and make dinner? Like have their bosses over for dinner? Is that a real thing? Do people still do that today?
I think there would be all sorts of HR problems if it did that today.
Right?
You shouldn't be commingling outside of work. What's wrong with you?
How dare you?
You have a work life and a professional life. The two should not meet. You're 2 very distinct levels of the ladder here, and there should not be any mingling or fraternization with the help.
You can't bring work home. That's not allowed.
So maybe somewhere someone is bringing their boss home for dinner, but I really don't think it's as widespread as these older sitcoms make it seem.
Right.
Honey, the boss is coming over for dinner. Why? Why doesn't he invite us over to his place for dinner? I mean, after all, he's the one with the money.
Exactly. Why do I have to? It doesn't make any sense.
So what is your number 7?
That's a pretty staple, though, example. That happens a lot. A lot of sitcoms. Yeah. Even, there's an episode like that in Modern Family, and it's just weird.
WandaVision did it.
Yeah, first episode. Which is funny, because that was, the 50s episode, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the same time frame you're talking with the Dick Van Dyke Show.
They could have gone with so many so many other tropes from the 50s sitcoms, but they went with that one.
It's just timeless. And I feel like everyone could recognize it. That's, I don't know, it's a very high pressure situation for that time. What worse could be happening?
A show that's not on my list anywhere, but maybe it should be in an honorable mention, Bewitched.
Okay.
WandaVision was, took a lot of cues from Bewitched. What bugged me about that show is whenever something came up, whenever there was a problem, the husband, I'm blanking on his name. It was Sam and Darren. That's it. Darren was a dick. First of all, maybe it's 21st century glasses looking back on, the 50s and the 60s. But he's like, Sam, you need to deny everything about who you are and your heritage to please me. Well, that's a no-go in the 21st century.
Right.
Or the other thing, of course, is when you have these problems and you're not saying, well, we could make this all go away like that. No, instead you choose to make the life for your wife and child much more difficult. Why? I don't know. Darren, you dick. And coincidentally enough, played by Dick York and Dick Sargent. So technically, it's not name calling. It's just,
Just saying his name. No big deal.
Technically, Darren, you two dicks.
Oh my god. That reminds me of another sitcom. It's so funny. I don't know if you've ever seen Letterkenny.
I've seen the first episode.
It's so funny, and that just reminded me of an episode. But I'm not going to go into it. I debated putting that on my list, but it's kind of hard to watch. Like, you have to watch it in sets, like little increments. Like, it gets kind of repetitive if you try to binge watch it. But overall, it's hilarious. So,
that's one thing I found when you're binge watching things like sitcoms. Maybe when you're watching them week to week, it's much more difficult to notice. But when you line them up, I've been watching Everybody Hates Chris.
Okay.
Just back to back to back to back, and one I've noticed this before, but especially with this one, you get the beats, you get the story beats, and the rhythm of the show pretty quickly when you're watching them back to back to back, and you start recognizing the patterns, and you're basically, I don't know if it takes you out of it, but it's certainly a little distracting when and that's when this happens, and that's when this happens, and that's when this happens. Or if somebody has a variation of a catchphrase or something like that, you're like, and that's where this is going to come in, and there it is. And not to take away from Everybody Loves Chris, I think it's a really good show, and I'm still watching it, so I must... in fact, I was thinking about buying a Chris Rock, autobiography, because I'm enjoying the show so much. Didn't make my lists, maybe an honorable mention, but I haven't finished it yet, so that's also one of my disqualifiers. I have to have seen every episode for it to be on the list.
That makes sense. I'd agree with that.
So yeah, being able to pick up on a show's rhythm through binge watching. I don't remember what it was like to watch a show week to week anymore. Not really. I guess I still do through Hulu.
Yeah,
Disney Plus. That I'm watching.
They're kind of bringing that back.
So there's a few that I watched like that. American Housewife was a good one that I liked. Of course, I'm a big fan of Diedrich Bader, who, son of a biscuit, one of his other shows should have been on my list, but it's too late now. I'm going to throw that in the honorable mentions. You know what? Let's go ahead and get to your number 7.
All right. So number 7, I have Futurama, which I feel like a lot of my shows don't require an explanation. Like, I'm pretty sure everyone has seen every one of my shows, but yeah, Futurama. One of the criteria I had was, can I just throw this on and like what's good background? I can still do I have a pretty demanding job, so I like to have things on the background just kind of distract me from time to time, but also I can focus on what I need to do. I can't have anything too interesting drawing my attention. So yeah, Futurama is one of those things that I can throw on anytime, fall asleep to it, or even if I'm actually paying attention, and it's still hilarious. Like, it's timeless to me, kind of like Family Guy, but it's just so fun.
It's funny because it's become so meme worthy, and I'm not even sure people like sharing the "shut up and take my money" thing, really understand what's going on.
Right.
And I don't want to sound like a douchey hipster or whatever, but I was there at the beginning when it was on Fox.
it's a pretty clever show too. Like I love when they take the shots at Fox, for canceling them
Yeah.
and bringing them back, and it's cool that they let that happen. As well as I think what is it, season 6, where like every episode is a movie essentially.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually like my go-to. I'll just pop that in and there's my day. So yeah, that's all I have for my 7.
All right. Let's see. My number 7 is a post 21st century show starring Tina Fey and Alec Baldwin. That's 30 Rock.
30 Rock.
Again,
Well,
I love shows about shows, man.
you do, man. You're very meta with your choices.
We got things like the rural juror out of this one. Tracy Morgan allowed to just go all out and be full Tracy Morgan. Kenneth, the page, really taking it to the boss, even though he's not trying. It's happening. And of course, seeing a lot of stuff going on in the writers' room. And what can I say? When it comes to certain lists, Liz Lemon and Tina Fey will always be on them.
That's fair. That's fair. All right.
I loved Tina Fey so much that I voted for Sarah Palin.
I missed that connection. Is it because they kind of look alike?
Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, you know how back in the day, maybe this might have been too early for you, but when the X-Men movie was being made, everyone's like, well, Patrick Stewart's Professor X. That's just a given.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's some roles that are just, yeah, you're going to get this person, and that's the way it is, period.
It can't be anyone else. It has to be them. So
when John McCain was running for president with Sarah Palin as his running mate, people were like, SNL, they got to bring back Tina Fey for this. That's just the way it is.
That's awesome.
And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And other than the obvious reasons, I believe I did read that Tina Fey was relieved that McCain lost. Not so much for the politics of it, but because she really didn't want to keep playing Sarah Palin. Kind of like Alec Baldwin, speaking of which, over the last, 4 years or so. So that was my number 7. What is your number 6? Number 6.
Number 6. So this is like maybe, yeah, this is the only one I have that hasn't been finished. As far as its series run, but Rick and Morty.
Okay.
I love that show. Pretty much anything Dan Harmon is involved with, I'm on board.
Guy's funny.
He is, and he's very good. Like, all of his shows have a lot of continuity to it. Like you can hear a joke in season 1, and then there'll be a reference for it in season 5. So catching those little things, that's what makes shows enjoyable for me. And so Rick and Morty has a lot of references between their shows. It's just hilarious. I feel like the majority of things I say come from that show. I constantly quote it. It's just so outlandish. And meme worthy too, along the lines of Futurama. There are a lot of memes for it. It hasn't been, I think that season 5 comes out soon. So I'm eagerly awaiting that. Is it? Don't do this to me.
I'll look it up real quick.
Google
Rick
it.
and Morty, season 5. Sunday, June 20th.
Yes. I have to say, like season 3, they knocked it out of the park, and then season 4, I was a little, I wasn't sure what was going on, and like you said, like shows still have time to suck when they are finished. Um, but I think they towards the end of their season 4, it picked back up and was pretty hilarious. Um, it was just those first few episodes for me, but yeah, that's my number 6. So
Yes, that is your number 6. Rick and Morty
what do you
didn't
have?
make any of my lists for the reasons I've stated before, but definitely worthy of listing at this point. It's beautifully written, and the way that it does its sentimentality, it's absurd humor, sentimental moment that actually makes you want to feel something, and then kicking the balls, show's over.
Yeah, yeah. Like they really like go after each other sometimes. It's so funny. I don't know, but yeah, it's so intelligently done. I feel like there aren't shows like that, especially like cartoons. Um, so yeah, it's something like you watch and they're like, all right, well, what do I watch next? What is like this? Um, I don't really think there is anything. So yeah. So what do you have for your 6?
Um, my number 6, Rick, is well, my number 6 is a British show.
Okay. Is it
Maybe
The
you've
Office?
heard of it. No, it's not The Office. In fact, I've never seen the English Office.
What?
I know. It's so short that it make it easy watching. It's just one of those. I haven't gotten around to it over the
You
last
got
decade.
you got to do it at least once.
I plan on it. I'm not sure where to watch it at this point, but I can look that up. But my number 6 is a British show about an office that's not The Office, and it
I
is
know it. I know it.
okay. What do you think it is?
Is it IT Crowd?
It is IT Crowd.
I knew it.
It is one of my favorite sitcoms. Well, it's on the list, of course. It's one of my favorite sitcoms, but just this show is so absurd and so funny. With Chris O'Dowd and Richard Ayoade, I'm butchering that name. Catherine Parkinson. When it comes to a trio of coworkers, it does not get much better than this. When you've got great lines from characters like, and I'm going to do some impressions here. People, what a bunch of bastards! Beautiful, and so perfect. Or, I like being weird. Weird's all I've got. That and my sweet style.
Oh, Moss is so funny. Oh, I'm interested that it made it so high on your list.
It's honestly, it could be higher because I love this show so much. There's a scene where they're all at a funeral, and someone says, Moss says, I think, I never know what to say to people at funerals, and it's like he's told, oh, just say I'm sorry for your loss, and then move on, and then Roy walks up, and he's like, I'm sorry for your loss. The person says thank you, and then he says, move on.
Oh,
When he gets put into the wheelchair bus.
oh yeah, at the theater. We're using the handicap bathroom.
And they're just like going with it.
Oh, what's impressive about that show too is that, like, I feel like most of these shows have like a pretty extensive cast of, like, 6+ people, like main characters that they can work with. This one did it with like 3.
Yeah, they nailed an office dynamic with 3 people.
Right.
And of course, we can't move on without 2 eyes. That's the best amount of eyes. Did you try turning it off and on again?
Right. Anytime my mom calls me, that's what I say. Something's broken. Have you tried turning it off and on again? He even had like the recorder set up, so he didn't even have to say it.
Someone talking to Moss, a beautiful woman talking to Moss, and says, "I like your glasses." And he looks at her and says, "I'm afraid they're not for sale."
Isn't he like really good at countdown too?
Yeah.
It's like playing in the streets and a hidden club.
Oh, man. I got a quote about that too. Hold on. Okay. What street countdown? It's more or less the same as normal countdown, except we play it on the street. It doesn't sound that dangerous. It can get quite cold. I always wear thermals. Ah, then you're probably fine.
Oh my god.
I'm just wearing that beret.
Oh man.
Okay, so that's my number 6.
I'm gonna have to go back and watch that. That was I debated putting that one on my list, but it unfortunately didn't make it. If I had to, I maybe take off like I don't know. I really don't think I could take anything off. It'd be like a close 11. It's there.
Yeah. Very fair. Be your honorable mention list, which I've added to since we started. So I guess with that we've gotten to the 10, 9, 8, 7.
Or 5.
What was your number 6?
Rick and Morty.
Okay, I guess I didn't write it down. Okay, number 5.
Frasier.
Dr.
Yes.
Frasier Crane.
That show is such a vibe to me. I don't know why. Yeah, like I probably on my list, maybe the second most watched series.
Okay.
That I have. It was one of those like I watched it and then I had to go back and watch Cheers.
Mm-hmm.
Just to get the whole full effect. And then came back. But yeah, it's very much a vibe. Like especially like rainy days. Here, that's something I'll pop on just watch. Just because it has that aesthetic. I really like jazz or lo-fi music, and it has that same sort of vibe with it. It even has like the jazz intro. But yeah, it's just it fits my mood all the time, pretty much. So just feel to chill. So yeah.
Okay, I can definitely recognize its importance in the place of sitcom history, considering it was an incredibly well-written show and brought us great things like Niles, anything
Absolutely.
that gets old Kelsey, working, who might appear in another sitcom coming up. Who knows? After all, he is TV royalty.
He was in one of yours already. So Keith. He was in Modern Family for an episode, wasn't he?
I mean, as a recurring character, though.
Okay.
Because if you go by that, he's been in like so many things as one-offs and whatnot.
Oh yeah, he was in an episode of Star Trek: The Next Generation. He was one of the captains.
Shows up everywhere.
Yeah, I'm sure. Anything back then, he was there. Even now. But yeah, that's my number five.
My number
I'll,
five
yeah.
is something I don't remember if you've seen or not, but
What's
it
that?
is once you've seen it, you don't forget it, and in fact, you start recognizing the guys from other places or in other places, and that is The League.
The League.
It's
Oh
where
my
I
god.
learned about phrases like Eskimo Brothers and Shiva Blast.
What? Oh my gosh.
Became a fan of the EBDBB&B. It is endlessly quotable, and when asked about whether or not it'll make a return, I believe one of the creators said, "Well," and I'm paraphrasing here, "Does trash talking your friends ever go out of style?" And that's what it is. It's about a group of friends that play fantasy football together and try to destroy each other's lives. But at the end of the day, they love each other. They love each other, except for when it comes to the league. In fact, in the very first episode, two of the guys are lawyers and they're talking. One of them is a defense attorney. The other one's an assistant district attorney, and they're talking and they're like, I got your guy dead to rights, and he's like, no, you don't got nothing, except the
Oh
plea
yeah,
deal.
yeah,
No, I'm not
yeah,
going
yeah,
to
yeah,
accept a
yeah,
plea
yeah.
deal, and then there's back and forth bantering, and he's like, well, what about for your number one draft pick?
I do remember that. Yes.
So, oh, and that I believe that was the episode with the birthday party where Taco sings about. See, one of the kids is having a birthday because one of the guys is a parent, and well, a couple of the guys are parents, but one of them is having a birthday party for his kid. His brother Taco comes and sings a nice song, to the kids at the party, and it's basically about the conception of the child.
Taco is crazy.
These guys are hilarious, but they're also terrible, and I love it. I love this show. I've watched through it 4 times, and I could watch through it again tomorrow and still laugh at every single joke. That's due to. I mean, let's me just throwing this out there. A lot of the show was kind of improv, right? They're
Really?
just, hey, go with it. Start trash talking each other. Make sure you get this line in here, something to push the story forward. But a lot of it was just them riffing, and that's where I found out about Nick Kroll and Jason Mantzoukas, a guy that keeps showing up in everything now. He was in that new action movie Infinite.
Oh, I've been waiting to watch that.
Mark Duplass, he's somewhat recognizable these days, more as a director though. Seth Rogen had a recurring role as Rafi's friend, Dirty Randy, porn director.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, it was absurd, it was insulting, and it was beautiful. That is why The League is my number 5.
Wow. I'm very interested in these picks and the order of them. All right. So my number 4 then is Community.
Okay.
Ragtag group of college students.
Varying in ages.
Right. But yeah, I think that I've rewatched that show so many times. I mean, it's just so good, and it's another one of Dan Harmon's. And again, there's so much continuity to it. Just the endless references to different episodes, previous jokes. Of course, you have Troy and Abed.
Troy and
Hilarious.
Abed are in mourning.
I don't think they realized we were saying it with an O.
We were saying it with an O?
Oh, no, it was a U.
With a U.
Yeah. You were saying it with a U?
Troy, you can't drive in here with that.
Yes, I can, dummy. It's all terrain. Oh, my God. Oh, man. Which, and that is where the origin of this whole show was born, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It started off with, you watch Community?
Right. So, yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can literally watch it show anytime. Yeah, I really don't know what more to say about it.
It's never a bad time to watch Community.
Nope. Yeah, and you have the paintball episodes. You have
the paintball episodes are beautiful.
Essentially the seasonal. Every season has that paintball episode, that Halloween episode, the Christmas episodes. So I don't know, it's something you can go through. Yeah.
There's a lot of genre bending going on.
Yeah, absolutely. And it really doesn't get old. I think there's plenty of episodes, a lot of character development throughout it. So yeah, that's my number 4.
Well, my number 4 is I'm gonna read this and you tell me if you can, and see if you can tell me what it is. Sometimes I'll start a sentence and I don't even know where it's going. I just hope I find it along the way.
Oh my God, I know this.
Okay, how about this? Would I rather be feared or loved? Easy.
The Office.
Both. I want people to be afraid of how much they love me.
Was that The Office?
It's The Office.
Yeah. Was the first quote Andy? No, that's Michael.
The pseudo docuseries about the staff of an office supply store, paper supply company. I don't know why I said office supply store. That's just not right.
I guess technically, yeah. They eventually start selling printers. So yeah. I mean, that's office supplies.
Due to Sabre.
Sabre. Oh my God.
But how can this list be complete without The Office? It has so many elements of comedy that it's unreal how well it works out, cramming all of this stuff in there, all of these characters in there that just work, from the semi-racist nature of Michael Scott, when you just find out he's kind of dumb, but he's also kind of brilliant, but he's also very insensitive, but also very sensitive about the needs of his employees and their different backgrounds. It's like he's the guy that, I can say, if I were to compare it to a movie, he's like Randall in Clerks 2, when they're talking about racial slurs, and he's like, no, that's not a racial slur. This, and this are racial slurs. And that's not saying Michael Scott would ever do those things, but I'm just saying he's the kind of guy that'll say the things that you're not supposed to say just to remind you that you're not supposed to say them.
Absolutely.
Like when he kissed Oscar, and he's like, see, it's totally okay. And Oscar's like, no, it's not. Being gay is okay. I'm going to kiss this guy now. It's like, nope. nope, not good.
That is a soul. You cannot do that.
And it's weird because I jumped on The Office late. I was very late to the party. I think I jumped on right before the last season started. It was on Netflix, and I was like, you know what? I keep hearing things about the show's about to end, so I'll binge watch the first 8 seasons. And even though I knew, oh, there's a wedding episode, and there's this, and this, and people on Facebook are like, the budding romance of Jim and Pam. It's like watching it unfold.
Yeah.
Even knowing what's going to happen, it still hit me in an emotional register that I was not prepared for. Especially, the series starts and Pam's with Roy, and it's the typical, she's with the wrong guy kind of thing. But the will they, won't they thing, I think, worked in a way that Ross and Rachel, in my opinion, never really did. Or at least it didn't do it as well as Jim and Pam. But again, these are just two small parts of this amazing show. I didn't even touch on, Kelly and Ryan, and their insane relationship, or Jim and Dwight and their whatever it was, a rivalry, a war, whatever you want to call it. Jim loved to harass Dwight, and Dwight, I think, liked it.
He kind of asked for it sometimes,
Yeah.
both of them. And I think, working in office, you need that, like, something to break it up. Especially, I can only imagine that their jobs were as boring as they described. And so you need something to kind of get you through the day and entertain you. And so to have that back and forth with someone else probably went a long way for them.
Especially if you look into the fan theory that the only reason the documentary crew is there is because the office member that isn't there anymore committed suicide, so they're doing a documentary about how people deal with grief. And that's why Michael Scott's kind of like overboard with his, he wants to show everybody that he cares. But that's only a fan theory, because there's also the whole, the sub-story of Michael not really being, I guess, I don't want to say loved, but maybe underappreciated by his parents, and maybe didn't get enough affection. So he wanted to be that kind of father figure to his employees that he didn't really have for himself. The show's deep. It doesn't start out that way. It gets there though, and they add so many layers with all of the characters. Every single one of them has a story, and that's what makes it iconic. They took all of these characters and made them three-dimensional. And I'm just gonna, before I hand the baton off for your number 3, I'm just gonna say this: Bears beats Battlestar Galactica.
Identity theft is not a joke, Josh. Millions of families are affected every day.
Michael!
All right. So my number 3, and this conversation is very hard to have without like dropping hints to other things, Mm-hmm. So my number 3 is one that you mentioned, and that's Modern Family.
Ooh,
so
it's a show I turned you on to, and it's in your top 3.
Right. You had mentioned you didn't know if I liked it, but yeah, your recommendation made it to my top 3, which is impressive. I think you mentioned it like last month, and I've already been through like 2 or 3 times. So, and I honestly didn't think I would really like it, but yeah, I had watched like fresh off the boat previously, which is same along the same lines. So I'm on Modern Family. So yeah, I think we've already discussed this in the show and its complexities. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what more there is to discuss. I mean, it's up there.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
fair. We did a pretty good dive on it back at the beginning of the show. So we'll move on to my number 3, which I will probably unpack a little bit more because it's also on your list. Futurama.
what?
It is a show that I've watched no less than 5 times through.
So
And
I'm so surprised that Modern Family was so low on your list. It's funny, like ours are kind of like reversed.
kind
But
of in some ways, especially since
yeah,
I know what else is coming up on my list. But Futurama, Delivery Boy gets frozen at the turn of the 21st century, and he gets reawakened in the 31st century,
yes,
where
yeah,
he meets his great 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 grandson, and becomes a delivery boy for Planet Express. There's Katie Seagal playing, Leela, Billy West, of course, doing Fry, as well as a slew of other characters. Just it's endlessly quotable. Why not Zoidberg? You know, uh, Bending Rodriguez, the the robot, the bending unit from Mexico, an alcoholic, but it's used to fuel his power cell, so I guess it's all good. Hermes, the accountant, Amy, the intern. This is one of those shows where, for a cartoon, it is incredibly deep. Not to sound soft or anything, but there are a number of episodes where I have openly wept. Yeah, it's true. Episodes make me cry.
what?
Mm-hmm. When he gets his dog, or when he wants to get his dog back, he's thinking about all the good times they had, and oh, it's such a touching, tender moment, and I like we can clone him. It's like good news, everyone. I'd love this show.
G&E. That
It's
is
I really wish they would have kept going. It should have been on the air just as long as The Simpsons. Why? Because it can. It's a cartoon. Voices don't change all that much when you're already grown.
yeah,
And the episodes are so good, I wouldn't care if some of the plots are recycled.
right.
They could just say it's, oh, we're doing this again. Why? Because of one of Professor Farnsworth's machines. You know,
Yeah,
easy way to
there's
write
endless
about that.
explanations for why something can happen.
So
Well, why are these things? Oh yeah, one of my favorite lines in there is Scruffy, and it's like boilers and toilets, toilets and boilers, except for that one boiling toilet. Fire me if you dare. Yeah.
I'm Scruffy, the janitor.
All right.
I'll die like I lived.
All right. So my number 2, and I honestly don't think I've ever met someone who likes this show, to be honest. But The Big Bang Theory.
I love The Big Bang Theory.
I don't understand why anyone could dislike that show, but yeah, definitely up there, top 2. So I think a large part of that is a lot of episodes, a lot of seasons. Um, I myself am, I can kind of identify I'm super not to that level, but if you came into my house, I've got comic books, toys, figurines all over the place. Um, so yeah, that's something I can kind of identify with. Um, a lot of games, stuff like that. Um, I think it's a pretty hilarious, cast. Um, but yeah, that's my number two.
It's a great show, Chuck Lorre. You got Leonard, Sheldon, Penny, Wallowitz, Raj, and I am one of the people that believes that at the end of the day, it was Wallowitz that ended up with the best looking wife. Just throwing that out there. I mean, there are Penny fans out there. That's nothing wrong with being a fan of that, or maybe you're into Amy Fairfowler, whatever. To each their own. But I like the way that during the entire run of the show, the characters actually evolved. They hit an arc, but they managed to do it in a way that kept them true to their roots. Nobody had to give up the things they loved to be with someone.
Yeah.
That's one of my favorite things about it.
Their significant others elevated them to that next level. And Absolutely. There's a lot of like little jokes and little subtext things to it, these are things that, come up all the time, but like Sheldon's clothes always matching his emotions. The labels on all the drinks and stuff are always kind of, skewed or messed up in some way. Will Wheaton's role on the show and how his house number is 1701 to match the Enterprise.
I didn't even notice that.
You didn't? Yeah, dude. It's those little things, like, and that's a big part of community as well. But yeah, those little jokes are what make a show interesting to me. And so like to see that, as well as like all the pop culture references and stuff, how they completely destroy Indiana Jones, it's hilarious to me. So
what are you supposed to be? I'm the Doppler effect. And the fact that it could spin off to a completely different style of sitcom with young Sheldon and work.
Yeah.
I actually enjoy young Sheldon.
Yep.
So I think the Big Bang Theory is, it didn't make it onto my top 10. I'm going to, put that out there, but it was definitely, right there on my honorable mentions. Like, can I fit this in? I don't know, man. In fact, once you hear some of my honorable mentions, I'm not going to go into all of them because there's a lot. But
didn't you say you had like 20? 20?
That was when I talked to you. I had 20 listed, and I had to find 10 out of that to make the list. But the list did keep growing. I don't know where it stopped as far as number goes. I think close to 40 of shows that I just really like. But I also added stuff that was either still running or I'd only watched through one time, that kind of thing. And that's when I came up with the criteria of, well, if it makes the list, I have finished it. So that marked off quite a few shows, and I didn't add anything that ended within the last year or two. I don't think. No, I had to have time to have it with me, to have it sit with me for a while.
Okay.
So that brings me to my number two, a show that certainly did not end, in the last couple of years, and that is MASH.
MASH.
The only wartime sitcom I can think of. It's about a unit of medical personnel in the Korean War. Funny story. the show lasted longer than the war. It follows mostly Dr. Hawkeye Pierce, played by Alan Alda. There were a couple of different COs, a couple of different best friends, a couple of different antagonists. So the conversation, gets brought up. Who's the better friend for Hawkeye? Was it, Trapper, or was it McIntyre? Who played his antagonist best? Was it, Winchester, or was it Burns? Houlihan was. I think there were only 4 real major staples that stayed through the entire run. That was Hawkeye, Klinger. No, Radar did leave. But he was one of the originals from the movie that transferred to the TV show. And so I can't say. So 3, Hawkeye, Klinger, and Houlihan were pretty much the only ones that stayed for the entire run of the series. And it was an amazing wartime anti-war show where a lot of the humor was dry, almost as dry as Hawkeye's martinis, right? Where it's about these guys just trying to figure out how to live in a war, putting people back together that were being pushed out of a machine that they had no part in creating. The messages are okay. They're not deep. They're pretty much surface level. Hey, war sucks. But the fact that for all these years, Hawkeye is doing his best not only to maintain his sanity, which gets to be questionable by the end, but also maintain a sense of humor to keep that sanity, is really where the heart of the show lies, as enemies become friends, and this group of coworkers becomes family. MASH is, in my opinion, one of the greatest shows ever made. I wish I would have appreciated it more when I was younger and it was on all the time, interrupting my cartoons. But I learned to appreciate it, and I learned to love it. And I'm very glad I did. That's why MASH is my number 2 favorite sitcom.
Okay.
Number 1.
And this is one you've already...
Drum roll.
All right. I feel like we need something like very climactic for this, but... Key roll, please. So yeah, I have one that you've already mentioned, and that's The Office.
The Office.
Yep. And it's so funny because, to be honest, I used to hate The Office. I did not understand it. And I still remember when I was like, all right, this is a show. But yeah, I did not see the humor in it. I thought it was super cringy. And even to this day, there are some episodes I can't watch. I'm sure everybody knows the Scott's Tots episode. But I've probably watched the show 50 times through, and I have only seen that episode 3 times. But yeah, it's just it is genuinely just a really, really good show. And I cannot get enough of it. So yeah.
It's getting one of those situations where we unpacked it, pretty well earlier.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I guess that's going to lead me to my number 1. And
you're leaving me in suspense here.
I'm trying to.
What's in the box?
I'm going to do the thing again where I say a quote from the show, and you tell me what show it is. Okay?
Yeah. We'll see if I can get it.
To me, religion is like Paul Rudd. I see the appeal, and I would never take it away from anyone, but I would also never stand in line for it.
Community.
Community. It is probably the show that I've rewatched more times than any, even though it was one of the latest to end up, on my watch list. I sat down and watched the show 2 straight times before. And like you said before, Troy and Abed are hilarious. Every character is funny. Well, mostly every character. The callbacks and the self-referential humor. Anytime they do a basically kick itself while it's down. It was one of those shows that never, went to the top of the ratings, but it had a very dedicated fan base that kept it going all the way through its 5 seasons on, NBC, and 1 season on Yahoo. That's right. It was canceled after season 5, and Yahoo brought it back for season 6. Why? Because the prophecy said 6 seasons in a movie.
Which we're still waiting on.
Still waiting for that movie. This is the show that doesn't get old for me because of its genre bending and its hilarity. And, in fact, one of my favorite self-deprecating jokes was there was one episode where, okay, let's back it up here. One of the key ingredients to Community is a Jeff Winger speech.
Yep, every episode.
Almost every episode, there's a Jeff Winger speech. In one particular episode, they were talking about all sorts of adventures that they had in all sorts of different places, and they the Jeff Winger speech was a quick cut from all of these episodes that never happened.
Yep.
And it was just kind of I love these jokes. And one character that we didn't mention but definitely should mention.
Chang?
Okay, 2 characters. After all, that's where Ken Jeong really, I think, took off, other than The Hangover. I hit my twin in utero, things like that. I'll allow it. You might have seen that meme running around. Pop, pop.
Magnitude. They're laughing at you, right? I like how his origin came from that party that Annie and Troy were at.
Mm-hmm. How their universe wasn't as big as they thought, and everyone just happened to be around. The episode where everybody went to the mall.
Yep.
And that's where they all decided to go to community college. They didn't know each other. But one of my favorite characters from the show isn't even one of the people from the study group. It's not them. And frankly, my dear, I don't give a Dean. The Dean is epic. Dean Pelton is absolutely one of my favorite characters from TV. Not because he is super in-depth and emotional or anything like that, but between the costume changes and the puns and his mild infatuation for Jeff Winger, Um, he's hilarious on just anytime he's on screen. You know you're gonna laugh.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't you want to be the gay dean? But I'm not gay. Gay doesn't even begin to cover it. That's why, for all of these reasons and the reasons we said before, Community is number one on my list. Numero uno. It takes the top spot. That was our lists. That was our list. Do you have any honorable mentions you want to throw out there before we hit on that?
No, I think aside from the ones we've already mentioned, I don't think I have anything beyond those. So.
Okay, well, I'm just going to throw out a few Fresh Prince, Friends. I'll throw out there, not because I think it's one of the greatest shows ever, because I really don't. But as far as a place in history, as iconic of the times, it was definitely the best ripoff of Living Single you could get. Living Single, of course, also going to be on the list. A Different World, one of my favorites. About college kids, but not the favorite because that's Community. Scrubs. Neither one of us mentioned Scrubs in our lists, and I find that surprising.
I did. I went back and forth, and it probably would be an honorable mention for me as well. I don't know why I couldn't. I don't think it holds up well, especially compared to these. I'll watch it from time to time, but it's definitely one of the least watched in the rotation I have. And it can be a bit much at times, but it definitely has its place in time.
It's guy love.
And it does have like those deep episodes and those moments, but but yeah, it can be. It's got a very like 2000s humor to me. Which, I don't know.
That's fair. I'm a Dr. Cox kind of guy, so really newbie. Another one on there is Jeff Garcia show starring Jason Lee. My Name is Earl. It would have instantly made my list. It would have instantly made my list if they, finished it.
You want to hear an interesting fact? I just learned this.
What's that?
So I went to a Friends themed museum over, about a week or two ago.
Mm-hmm.
And in it they had like a list of stats, like based on the episodes, and one of them was like the number of times each of them said their catchphrase. So you have like Ross's "We were on a break."
Joey's "How you doing?"
Joey's "How you doing?" And that's what I would talk about. So I think they said "How you doing" was said maybe, I think it was like 24, 25 times throughout the entire series.
Wow, I think it would be more.
Right. I would expect it to be so much more. And it didn't even say like just Joey saying it. It was just in general. So that's all the characters saying it, which is so hard for me to believe. Like, I really can't. But Janice's, her "oh my God" was said over 1,200 times. I don't even remember her being in that many episodes. That's essentially 4 times every episode.
Now, you said that includes everybody saying it. Does that just mean, are they counting just people going, "Oh my God," or is it the "Oh my God"?
I think it's the drawn out, and I didn't put too much thought into it, but I would imagine based on that, it's got to be that character saying it, because otherwise, the "How you doing's got to be way over 25. Like, they were showing clips of the shows, and in just the clips, had to be more. So I think it has to be that character saying it.
Crazy.
But yeah, like, she's not even in that many episodes, I don't think. I'm not
maybe
the
there were a
friend
couple of times
expert.
she was like, "Oh my god, oh 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 my god."
True, true. I might
And
have to
then
go back and watch. But yeah,
somebody went back and counted them all.
you go on a hour-long tour, and that's what sticks with you. So I was like, that's crazy. It's still blowing my mind today. I've only seen Friends like maybe once or twice, and then the sporadic episodes. But yeah, that I thought that'd be interesting to share. So,
It surprised me. Wow. American Housewife. I want to give props to that. Spin City, Michael J. Fox sitcom, Barry Bostwick. Good stuff back in the day. You got your Home Improvements, Family Matters, Full House, typical '90s family sitcoms. They were cool. Iglesias, really dig Iglesias on Netflix. Atypical, it's going into its final season. And that's the final season starting fairly soon.
that was a good series.
And finally, I'm going to say the Drew Carey Show.
Okay.
It's a show, apparently, that is so steeped in music that nobody can clear all the rights to get it streaming anywhere.
That's crazy.
So, yeah. So to get my Drew Carey fix, I have to either read one of his books, the favorite being Dirty Jokes and Beer, or watch The Price is Right, I guess. I didn't see that transition coming. But if you're familiar with the Drew Carey Show, or if you're familiar with Whose Line Is It Anyway, then you recognize guys like Ryan Stiles and Dietrich Bader, improv actors. Dietrich Bader, who went on to become the dad in American Housewife, another show that I mentioned. Great job there being a TV dad. And also in one of the Batman animated series, not the Batman animated series because that's Kevin Conroy, but like Batman the Brave and the Bold or something like that. Dietrich Bader is the voice of Batman. Kathy Kinney and Mimi in the show. Fun stuff. Fun. It was a fun show. I wish it was streaming somewhere because if it was, I would rewatch it all the way through to see if it kind of, to see if it aged well, if it aged like a fine wine or aged like milk. And like I said, I would rewatch it, see how well it aged, and it would definitely go in the top 10. Probably. I don't know where it would fit into the top 10, but it would definitely bump some people off because it was one of my favorite shows growing up. So that's it, I guess. Those are our lists. I'll make sure that a copy of them is put up over the Semicore Studios Facebook page where you can watch this show as it goes live and join in the comments and whatnot. And don't forget, you can also subscribe, download it, and whatever you want to do via all of your favorite podcast catchers. That is when all of that gets set up. We had to have an episode in the can to set up the distribution, but so now that it's done, we will be able to do that. I was kind of hoping to have our next episode topic figured out before we signed off. Kind of way of plugging away of plugging the next episode. That way, people will know, what to look forward to next week or next time, and maybe make it an incentive for Matt to come back and do this again for the Matt and Josh Make List show.
What's it going to be? Do you have anything in mind?
Sitcoms.
Should we jump on Apex? And we'll
jump on Apex, get our show meeting taken care of.
We're gonna need to meet in the party chat.
Yeah, I guess we're gonna have to have a show meeting. But if you have any suggestions, just go to the Facebook page and you'll see this episode, episode number 1, posted up. Put down your suggestions, and we'll definitely take them into consideration. And you can be as broad or as detailed as you want. You know, if you want to say, I don't know, I want you guys to talk about your favorite villains. That's a pretty broad topic. Very broad. Or you can say, I want everybody to talk about their favorite fictional bands from television and films. Like, okay, that's, you know, something that would take a little more research, but yeah, we can get that done too.
I would have to go through my top 10.
So, like no matter how big or small, just throw the suggestions up in there, or hit me up on Twitter at SkitComic and tweet your suggestions to me. Dave, do you have Twitter? People would reach out to you if they want.
Don't, man. I'm an old man.
I think I'm the young whippersnapper.
I don't remember dinosaurs. I was even born.
Oh God, I literally remember dinosaurs.
I was too busy watching Power Rangers.
Well, this is the part of the show where we say goodnight. So, say goodnight, Matt.
Good night.
And that's the outro music playing for all of you listening in the audio podcast. And this is where I say goodnight. So, see you all next time, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen. And make a list of fun things to do this week. And do it.
Making lists.